We always enjoy our time with Brandon Marcello, 24/7 Sports, at @BMarcello on Twitter. And he's with us now on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline. Hello, Brandon. How are you today?
Doing well. How are you guys?
Doing fantastic. Thanks a lot. You had a really, really well-done interview with Lincoln Riley, who has found himself in the center of several controversies since moving to USC. The reaction at Oklahoma, which you could understand. Now Pat Narduzzi and he are sideways over a player. You've talked to Lincoln. I don't know that he anticipated that this move and the follow-ups to this move would create so much controversy for him.
Yeah, I talked to him, I guess, just a few hours before that all kind of broke. I talked to him Friday about noon or maybe a little bit before that, and that news came out that night, and, you knew USC was going to have some big fish to potentially land in their boat this offseason. I mean, he told me that they could add 10, maybe more players to their roster from the transfer portal after spring practices. And they look as though they're going to go after the big dogs out there, and they need to. They want to win a championship right away. He believes he's got the pieces already in place, the strong core there to be able to contend for a Pac-12 championship, and they just need to add some, extra spices in there. One for stars, but also for some depth. I mean, they've only got, I think, 78, something like that, scholarship players on campus right now, and they need more. And if you're going to fill those spots, you might as well go for the big dogs. And of course, now the big question is there tampering going on? And I guess when we get really deep in this, we're in such muddy waters anyway with NIL. What really is tampering if someone who's not directly tied to USC or for any school for that matter talks to this kid and says, hey, it's a free market out there. If you want to test the waters, just let you know that we'll be interested in giving you a big deal if you were to get in the transfer portal. The idea that nothing like this isn't going on or hasn't been going on since August and September when this stuff became legal is kind of ludicrous. But, we all need a villain, I guess, to cheer against or cheer for that matter. Some of us like the heels, but it is what it is. This is what college football is today. And it's almost like everybody woke up. Some people woke up and go, oh, this is possible. People could tamper. Kids get paid money. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly the door that was opened. And don't expect everybody to just start up and start setting their own moral code around this of some type of gentleman's agreement. There are not unwritten rules. This isn't baseball. This isn't not to pick on baseball, but baseball sucks. This is college football. It is in your face. We're going to do whatever it takes to win. And if it's legal, then it's legal. And we will muddy any line we have to be able to win us a championship. And that goes not just for USC, for any program. It goes for Alabama. It goes for Auburn. It goes for Tennessee. It goes for Toledo, guys. I mean, they're gonna do what they can.
Specifically, the Biletnikoff Award winner from last year, Jordan Addison. If we're talking about him, according to PantherLair.com, which I'm sure you've got bookmarked, they are saying that Jordan Addison is in L.A. today. And they are also saying that Lincoln Riley was on the phone multiple times with Pat Narduzzi. I don't know how much you believe of this. I would assume if it is correct, Jordan Addison is going to be a Trojan.
We'll see. I haven't heard one way or another whether he's actually going to go to USC. I do know that there are other schools, or I should say their collectives or NIL people, whoever, that want to get him. I mean, you'd be silly not to want to get Jordan Addison, the guy freaking Biletnikoff winner and his best receiver out there. But there's been a lot of rumors out there. There's people saying he was in LA last Saturday, and then people backtracking on that and saying he was actually in Vegas taking part in some like NFL draft parties and stuff like that. I have no reason to not believe that, however, that Pat Narduzzi was on the phone with Lincoln Riley asking him about potential tampering and going on potentially with that, because Narduzzi came out previously about similar concerns he had about Notre Dame with another player of his on his roster. And for that matter, every coach is kind of in that, not state of paranoia, but they're concerned about it. These coaches are talking to each other about, like, what the heck is going on? Or are you hearing this? And for that matter, are you directly involved with my player? But the issue is, and I'm sure the coaches realize this, and they're just trying to do everything they can to control it, because coaches feel like they can control everything. It's just that the NCAA is not going to step in and do anything about this right now. I mean, even if there was like a clear and present danger, a clear trail to something, or clear evidence that there is tampering going on, like, what exactly is the NCAA going to do with this, considering it has really no real guardrails of its own on all of this? And they're so toothless and impotent, as I've said before, especially when it comes to the ever-changing landscape of college sports right now with NIL. I don't think they would even want to touch it, even if there was something clearly going on that they could point to or rule on, because here in 6 months, things might change anyway. Simply put, if I'm an NIL guy or a coach or whatever, I'm not paying attention to any damn rules right now. Yeah, nothing's gonna happen to me. I am gonna go out there and I'm gonna light the world on fire.
And the NCAA will Usain Bolt away from a lawsuit in a heartbeat. So they don't want to get tied up with any kind of lawsuit. And we all know how this is going to go anyway, right? You hate it depending on geography. Like, Paul, I can't believe they were tampering to get that receiver. He's in LA today. It's not Los Angeles, it's Lower Alabama. Damn right, good. We get him with Alabama. That's fantastic. It all depends on your perspective where he ends up going. I want to ask you, because you're a basketball fan too, how much of what we're seeing with roster movement now in football has the basketball coaches been dealing with the last half decade or a decade? Because it seems like they've been having to deal with this, reinvent the entire roster almost every year for a while now.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And what makes that quote unquote easier is because, of course, the roster sizes are smaller, but it's much more impactful because you could potentially be replacing every single starter on your roster. I mean, goodness gracious, LSU practically lost everyone this past year. My home state, Arkansas, they replace the roster, it seems like, every year under Eric Musselman, and he still makes back-to-back Elite Eights. It's just, that's the new world we're in right now. I mean, look at Ole Miss, for example, with football right now. Lane Kiffin's having to reload his big-time stars, and he's putting himself in a position potentially to have to do it once every year or every 2 years, because he's getting guys to come in to replace those players, but then they're going to go to the NFL in a year or two themselves. So that's just what it is, and you're exactly right. If I was a college football coach and if I'm struggling with this or I need some guidance, I'd reach out to a colleague in the college basketball industry and be like, how are you dealing with this? How do I attack this? How do I make inroads on some of these players? How is recruiting different for some of these players who know that they are not only marketable, but they're at the top of their game and not only are going to be starters for you, but have a lot of options that they should consider. And obviously these kids, they're much more mature business-wise now, but also with how much their value is worth to a team once they go there. And it's not just about playing time and minutes. It's about, what do you offer me off the court? And much different from recruiting high school kids. And, it does make me wonder, like, you look at some of these schools, like the schools that have done very well in college basketball the last few years through the transfer portal, and you see the schools that are also doing with football doing it very well. Arkansas is doing it very well. And I've said this in the past. Michigan State and Arkansas, the previous 2 years, have probably been the best consistently in the transfer portal in football. And then also they've done it very well in basketball at those schools too. So I'm sure there's a lot of communication going on between those coaching staffs about how do we go about doing this, what works. And if you're a college football coach, listen, I tweeted this earlier. If you're sitting there just bitching and moaning about this whole thing, you're going to get your ass kicked. And it reminds me, every year or two, these coaches are saying something's the end of the world. I mean, goodness gracious. I don't even know how long ago it was now. Remember when satellite camps were a big thing?
Yes, yeah. Jim Harbaugh, I mean, he was on the forefront down in Prattville. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, coaches were freaking out about that, there's so many recruiting advantages and they could host these camps near their own campus and all that. And then everybody felt like they had to go do it. And then it became a matter of how many can we go do? How many kids can go out in front? And then it all evened out. The market corrected itself. Same thing's going to happen with the NIL. So if you're sitting there complaining about this as a coach, about NIL and everything, get out of the business. Get out of it because it's not going away. And you do see some coaches doing that now. You're seeing coaches leave college football. They're either going to the NFL, they're going to high school, some of them, or some of them are just getting out of it, hoping things will change in the next few years and maybe they can come back. But you don't like this. It's not going away, guys. This just isn't. The toothpaste is out of the tube. You can't put it back. The NCAA, and for that matter, I could talk all day about this. But listen, blame the NCAA if you want for not having guardrails up, some stricter guidelines and everything. But the finger should be pointed right back at the universities themselves, the presidents and the chancellors. They're the ones who run the NCAA. They're the ones who put Mark Emmert in that seat to take the punches every single day for them. And they sat back, too many people talking, too many people not wanting to do anything, too many people afraid of lawsuits and antitrust issues. And they're in this big vat of worms, not a can of worms. They don't know how to get out. And too bad. It's your own making. You only have yourself to blame.
I lose track of time, but I think it was recently, within a month, you tweeted out a picture of how much weight you've lost over the last year, and it was pretty miraculous. I mean, what was the total pounds you've lost?
At that point, it was 139. I think I'm down to like 145 now. I shaved my beard off to see what my face looked like after the weight, and I didn't like it, so I'm growing it back. It's a mess right now.
Yeah. How'd you lose all your weight?
Just thoughts and prayers.
TMP, baby. Yeah, when you shave your beard, your face looks like I've just got the scruff basically.
Well,
I don't like it.
You notice the double chin.
I have a turkey neck.
Yeah, Rockstar's right. You never know you've got a double chin until you've grown a beard and then shaved it, and you're like, holy crap. It
sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Well, that's why I was like shaving. I was like, wow, I don't have a frog gullet like I had, and now it's just stretched out skin. It's bad anyway, but I'm growing this back out. I'm gonna go to a barber since I don't get to have a haircut. They give me a nice little trim with the beard and everything. But yeah, I had people going, you got the surgery, didn't you? The gastric sleeve or whatever. I was like, no, I just dieting. I do Nutrisystem and I walk and jog 5 to 6 days a week. That's all, and drink lots of water. And that's about it. I mean, anybody could do this, man. I mean, you just got to have the commitment to it. And then more importantly, the thing that sucks about life is that none of us really have time. And you got to that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest challenge, is making time to do it. Like carving out like an hour to 2 hours every day to focus on your health and yourself. And that is difficult in any line of work or anybody's schedule. And that's probably the most difficult thing with that I faced during this was finding the time every single day to say, I have to do this for an hour or two, no matter what.
And discipline, because you, when you do what you do, or most people do now, you sit in front of a computer and you write all day long. It's easy to eat bad, snack bad, drink bad, And it takes a lot. So I sent you a message telling you how inspirational you were to a couple of people I know. So thank you for sharing your journey with us, and we always appreciate you joining us here on the show.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And what was I going to say? Yeah, I mean, listen, NIL, it is what it is. Let the kids make their money. I don't care. The market will correct itself. I know people say that a lot, and then it just goes over everybody's head. Listen, not everybody's going to be getting $2 million deals and all this stuff. And I guarantee you, these deals we see now that we're hearing about, rumors, those are going to go down year by year because they're going to say, did we really need to spend that much money on that guy to get him here? No. And it'll go down, and the big teams will continue to win. There's not going to be like an out of nowhere story of an Arkansas or a Missouri coming out of nowhere to win an SEC championship because they were able to get all these big deals. It's just not going to work that way.
Don't say that to Texas. Don't say that to Texas.
Well,
they're going to come.
We've been talking about this with Texas at 24/7 Sports. This is the perfect time for Texas to get back on top, and because they were apparently the boosters and everybody there, they have a lot of money. So why aren't they going out and getting all these big time players? And then, of course, you saw our report last night at 24/7 Sports. We broke. Chris Hummer's done a fantastic job. I call him the Transportal King, portal professor. Xavier Worthy being offered all this money to enter the portal, which is tampering, technically. But our big question is, like, inside 24/7 Sports is, why is Texas concerned with that? Why aren't they just saying, "Oh, you're taken care of"? I mean,
really.
Texas lost a recruit to Nebraska because Nebraska was offering more money. A school like Texas should be killing it right now in the transfer portal and not have to worry about any of this because they have the money. This is the perfect market and opportunity for a school like Texas with all that money to be able to get these type of players, and yet they're struggling with it a little bit. It almost seems like they weren't quite prepared for this as much as, say, a Texas A&M was. They saw that these schools, these collectives, these boosters who saw this coming and were prepared for it, they're the ones who are doing well with this. Nebraska, obviously, because the NIL group, not the one that raises money, but Open Doors is located right there in their back door. So there's been some education with how NIL was going to work for them over the last few years. So they're prepared for it. That's why they were able to get a recruit over Texas. Texas, meanwhile, just seems like they weren't as well prepared as they should have been. And if they had been, I think, as much as we're hearing about USC and Florida right now, and Texas A&M for that matter, the Longhorns, I think, would be number one in the country with a transfer portal class because of everything they've got going on there. And yet they're not, because I don't think they were, not just me, but a lot of us at 24/7 Sports just don't believe they were as well prepared as they should have been for all this.
All right, go follow Brendan on Twitter at @bmarcello. Read him at 24/7 Sports. See his podcast and his video interview with Lincoln Riley, the USC head coach, right there at 24/7 Sports. It's very good. Thank you, Brendan, for the time. Always great talking with you.
All right, see you guys.
All right, Brandon Marcello with us on the JohnstonRVCenter.com hotline.